From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
Miss Vicky.
Yes, sir.
You know what?
What?
I've been thinking about this Sentinel system.
Yeah. Tell me about the Sentinel system.
So what I was thinking was we have the one car that's got the aim dash that's slowing us down. Because installing the aim dash is actually, it probably is easy, but it's quite hard the first time. And we haven't figured that out yet. The Sentinel system is really easy to set up. So what I was thinking was, why don't we put it in the Lemons car? And we'll worry about the aim data information separately. And we'll kind of break it down into a project. Because then we'd have the motorsports video system that we really, really want, and we'd be able to stream it. We just won't have the data inside, but we have the data outside, so we can combine them later. But I think that's a really good solution.
So what does this Sentinel system do?
Well, if it had the aim data, it would have all the data on the screen, and you could see all their telemetry and everything live. But we'd be able to not only record it for viewing after the race, but we could actually watch our car during the race.
Ooh, like on the monitor and everything?
On a monitor, if you were at home and I was at a track, or if you were at the track and I was at home, depends on who gets the short straw, but we'd be able to watch each other.
It's something I've always wanted to do.
And you know what? If you're driving, you know what you can do on the Sentinel system?
What's that?
You can communicate to me with your hands, and I can't do a thing about it.
Even better.
So, if you need to give a wave or a jersey wave, whatever you need, we could save it and see it on the screen. And then you can have up to 3 different cameras, and it'll have picture in picture. You'll have the basic main shot out the front window, and then 2 cameras where you put them wherever you want. One could be on the driver, or one could be on the rear view. It's kind of cool.
Then we can upload it onto YouTube.
We could bore millions of people on YouTube.
I love it.
All right. Very well. You know what the only downside I see about this?
What?
Your mom and my mom are going to be panic-stricken the entire weekend watching this thing to see if everything's going well.
This is true.
We probably shouldn't tell them.
I like the idea of having a Sentinel.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily we have maybe 2. Depends on how things go. We're going to try. All right. That sounds like a plan. That's the project. We got to get that ready for the next race.
Sounds great.
All right. Very well. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Dawson, I have questions for you.
Well, I'm full of some kind of information, so let's see what we can shake out.
All right. Miss Vicky, you ready to rock and roll?
I am.
All right. Very well. Mr. Dawson, we had somebody write in and they had a question.
All right.
How do you choose brake markers and markers in general?
That's a good question. That's a kind of some one-on-one stuff that we really get to talk about, because I think a lot of the folks who are listening are one-on-one kind of drivers and racers.
Could be. We might have gotten some to 201 level by now.
Yeah. You sort of distinguish between brake markers and just markers in general. Are we talking about choose where you're braking and also just other visual references?
Mm-hmm.
Specific to braking.
Usually like turn in or something with a blind corner.
Okay. Well, I think it's kind of 2 separate things. So let's talk about how do we decide where the appropriate place for me in this vehicle to brake in the most efficient, quickest way possible is. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm. That sounds awesome. That sounds dominating.
Typically, I know I say this all the time, but if I'm going to a place where I don't know where I'm going to need to brake with the car that I'm driving, or sorry, the vehicle that I'm driving, it could be a truck. I'm going to watch a bunch of video before I go, because as I am often saying on this very podcast, when Ben Dawson gets to a new track, I want to get out there and be pretty on the ball as far as knowing where I'm going, where to brake, where to hit the gas, where turning points are, from watching other people's video in similar cars. So try to find somebody who looks credible, like they know what they're doing, or maybe go look at some results from the club races that race there, and go try to find somebody's name who's done well in a similar car and the results. I mean, that's what I'm saying is I'll drill down and find somebody like, oh, this guy won the SCCA blah 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 race in a similar kind of car. So I'm gonna go look up this guy. I'm gonna go find his YouTube. He's surely gonna have some video of him driving at that track, or girl, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna go find somebody who I can tell is successful by their name, and then go try to find some video of them driving the track. Because if you won a bunch of races, it's likely that you're doing a pretty good job getting around. I mean, exactly how I plan to approach it, but this is gonna be a good waypoint. So anyway, hopefully I had a chance to do it on iRacing too. If you have a sim set up and you're going to a place you've never done before, go do it consequence free a bunch of times with the computer's cars. That can give you also a pretty good in real life, a good IRL understanding of where you're going to be braking when you get there. So I would try to do as much advanced work as I can to that will determine where my braking points are going to be before I ever put a tire on track, because every minute of track time is what? Has anybody ever figured out what every minute of DE time is about worth?
I don't do that math, sir.
I know that's the kind of math that'll make you want to just kind of fill the sink up with water and then put your head in the sink.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it's expensive. Time at the track, all of your time at the track, but especially your time where your tires are touching the track is expensive. So I don't want to waste that time kind of faffing around trying to figure out like, oh, what's the best place to brake? Now, not everybody has as refined an approach as I do. Not everybody kind of has the drive to want to just get out there and be fast right out of the gate like I do. In this case, you might be a DE entrant, participant in like an intermediate or novice class, where you've got somebody sitting in the car with you, right?
And
in those cases, the instructor's going to help you find out where to brake. Your instructor's going to go, all right, well, I got a pretty good idea. Like, the instructor in their mind is like, okay, well, I brake at the 3. So I'm gonna have this guy in this, this Corvette that's got way more power than my Specky 30 or whatever. But you're instructing. You just have to kind of build a sense for yourself of like, okay, well, this person's not coming out onto the straightaway as fast as I am, but he's still gonna build some speed with this big, powerful car. So I'm gonna have this guy braking to 5. You know what I mean? And if
to start, right?
All right, just as this entrant and I get going on, kind of trying to drill down where to brake in their car, because they weren't savvy enough to do all the advanced work. And if we're in the situation where you are figuring this out on the track, here's what you do: is you brake earlier than you think you need to. Also I'm always harping on this, but use context of other cars around you as you get going. If you see somebody in a car just like yours, you're braking way before they are. You're braking at the 5, and they're braking at the 3. You're like, okay, I can probably push it up a little bit. But to me, finding your exact braking zone is a game of inches, and sometimes it's a game of many, many feet. But if you're braking and then realizing, okay, I broke too soon because I'm needing to add throttle to get up to the apex. If you're braking too soon and realizing like, oh, I parked it, way too early, and I'm able to turn in. I can turn in so soon now that I would just turn right across the grass. So right. You realize you get yourself way over slow. I can drive up to the apex, or I can turn. I could do the full turn right now, and I'm still a half a mile away from the apex. You need to push your braking zone deeper, but understanding where to brake is all about kind of pushing your way up to it, and then kind of, when you went too far is when you hit the brakes and you can't make the corner. You end up going off.
Can't make the apex.
You can't make the apex. Maybe you make an ugly corner, or you go off the track with a couple of wheels. But that's like, okay, well, I can't brake at the 2.5. Better be the 3 to be my reliable spot. Just hypothetically.
Right.
So you work up to it, and you keep realizing that you're parking short. You're stopping way short. Just keep running it up. But it doesn't have to be whole markers. Because also, I don't know if we've touched on this recently, but nobody's perception of where they're braking is the same. Everybody can say, I'm braking at the 3. Then you go watch video, and this guy is moving his foot over from the gas toward the brake at the 3. This other person has already been braking for half a marker at the 3. They thought, you know what I mean? Like, your differences in our vision and perception can be huge. So everybody's saying they're doing something at the same way. It's not always exactly. You're not doing it the same.
Is the 3 at like 45 degrees to the car, or right next to the car when it passed the driver? 3? Yeah.
Or did I see the 3? And then So you have to build your own set of references that mean something to you. You can't just listen to every old grizzled turkey at the track and say, yeah, everybody breaks into so and so. If you hear anybody say everybody does something, walk away from that person and figure it out for yourself.
Always fear the guy who says he doesn't break for the turn, right?
Oh, yeah. Just don't listen to anybody at the track unless you see me. You can always listen to me.
listen to that.
I may not be helping you, but you can always listen.
That's right. It'll be entertaining.
I'll entertain you with something, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the approach. You can get a frame of reference as much as you want to in advance. I think is a smart idea, and then that way you're going to show up and kind of feel like you know what you're doing, and you're not wasting your time at the track. So I say learn as much as you can before you get there, and then once you get there, sort of work up to the ideal. And I mean, you don't have to overshoot it to know what the ideal is. If you can feel like you got pretty close to it. If you're braking and then you're hearing your tires talk to you a little bit on turn in and exit, it sounds like you probably braked at an appropriate point, carrying in enough speed to be working that friction circle. So that's how you know if you're hearing your tires working for you, not like screaming like. If you hear a chirping tire, is a happy tire. So if you hear chirps and you hear the tires making noise, that means you're working them at the limit of the grip, and you've done a good job as far as braking and getting turned in at the right spot.
Right. So before I ask Miss Vicky what she does, I'm gonna overstate the obvious to everybody who's been on track. The reason you don't start close and work your way back is if you start too close, you may end up in a wall off the track. So let's do the conservative approach and start way back and work our way towards the corner, because bad things happen when you guess wrong on the bad side.
Yeah, so. and also if this is a track where you can see a fair amount of it and you can see other sessions, a lot of times if you're a rookie, you're not going to be the first people out on the track. You might have a chance to watch a more advanced group or two go. And I try to. I'm obsessed with watching where people's brake lights come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's also smart to kind of go observe as many different braking zones as you can in person to see what people are brakes do.
Absolutely, Miss Vicky. How do you determine your braking markers?
Well, first off, I start slower, like at a distance, and then I go for the pucker.
Pucker. Diamonds? Are we talking diamonds here?
Diamonds. Yes. And I have to work through the pucker and the diamonds to see how close I could get without losing control of my car on the turn.
Yeah, because I mean there is that point where you're like there's a point where you can reliably make it in quickly and know like, hey, if I hit it here, I'm always gonna make it. And there is a point beyond that where you're like, it's iffy. I can probably do it, but you always have to decide how much it's worth it trying to push a little bit deeper.
Exactly.
You've gotten comfortable with it. I mean, many times if you go a fraction of a marker deeper, it may not make that big of a deal. It just may make you have an ugly corner, but also it might serve the purpose that you needed to at the time. You know what I mean? So it's good to know what's going to happen if you go a little bit deeper than your normal, your comfort zone is. And I hate to use the word comfort zone while we're talking about braking, because I think if you're braking the right way, it should never be real comfortable. It should be an edgy experience, and you should be pushing deep. But sometimes you can push past that a little bit of traffic demands. You just have to know that on the other side of that extra push past your normal comfort zone might be an off or just a crappy corner where you're not having the best corner, but you did fight that guy off for a second if traffic demanded that you needed to push. I don't recommend doing that a lot, and you have to be very aware that right on the other side that could be a shitty situation for you.
Yeah, I'm still working through and adjusting my comfort zone, because I know that there's more to give, but the self-preservation kicks in, and I know that I can go
don't lose that. Don't lose your self-preservation.
There's
That's important to keep.
Right, but the self-preservation kicks in a little bit too early.
Yeah, okay.
And I know that I have like a panel and a half to 2 panels that I can still go. So I'm still to this day working through that.
Mm-hmm.
But is knowing your limitations, is that part of situational awareness? I would say that it is.
Yeah.
And situational awareness is essential and very key to what we're doing. So you gotta know you gotta know the depths of the pool you're swimming in, and sometimes that pool also includes like what I'm comfortable with and what I'm capable of. That's fine. I would much rather be on track with drivers who grasp that than ones who don't.
For sure.
It's working, creating new comfort zones, if that makes any sense.
Yes, totally does. It sounds like a pretty smart approach as opposed to some of what I've seen people try to get out on track and do.
And sometimes they leave without a car.
Yep.
Which is not the goal, people.
No, leave with your car and a trophy if you can.
Exactly. So far we've been talking about turns that have brake markers, right? The boards. Right. What if there's no boards? What if you're somewhere else? What do you choose for markers? How do you choose a marker?
Oh my gosh. We were just having a conversation about this not too long ago.
What's an example of a spotlight that everybody can think of? I'm a little bit at a loss. I'm sure there's a bunch of them. But where are we thinking of as far as places where you're trying to decide where to brake without a marker?
Well, you know what? I mean, before you even think about that, not to look at the marker boards, because that was always my issue when I was
at the marker boards.
Yeah, don't stare at them. You need to be
don't look at them. Right.
You don't need to be looking right at them.
Right.
Oh yeah, a great one is turn 3. Between turn 3 and 4 at VIR, there are no markers there, but that's a little short straightaway where you got to wail on the brakes pretty hard at the end of it, and that's one where I'm always, it's right by the snack stand at VIR, so there's always people standing there watching it. I'm obsessed with, if there's cars going by, I'm going to be watching where the brake lights come on, how long they come on for. It's crazy. Like you watch almost everybody but the Spec Miatas, they got a big break there, and then you watch all the Spec Miata guys that are good. You watch them go through there. It looks like they just dip on the pedal and boom, rotate that car and take off. But there's no number boards there, so that's a big one that pops off my home spot.
So what do you do? What do you choose when you don't have breaker boards or you don't have a permanent marker that's made to be a marker?
That's tough because as I'm talking about that, when I'm thinking about it, I don't think I have a visual reference. I just feel it now. I can gotta do it now, you know what I mean? And usually I'm pretty close and able to get up over the apex the way I want to. The only thing at that place, waiting an extra second late will do for me just means I can't get my entire vehicle all the way up over the apex curbing and jump it. I might just be, only get 2 wheels on the apex curbing. That's the kind of difference we're talking about me making by just kind of making a small mistake there. But that's a good one. Another one is another place where you got to brake at VIR. And I can need to move off of VIR, but at the top of the S's, you got to get slowed down for south end, and there's no kind of boards or indicator or where you need to do that. So that's a big black magic kind of thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the exact right space to lose some speed? Because you got to lose some speed from running the S's flat out to get turned for this next thing. So yeah, you're right. And I don't think I have a good reference to that. I think some of my references come from feeling something in the track. I'm just trying to think back, but at the top of the S's, I kind of feel where there's a little uphill, and I feel that coming up, I know that's kind of somewhere in there is where I want to go on the brakes a little bit. But I think for me, I might be more of a feel guy than anything. I feel a bump in the road or something like that. Or I just judge it. I think I just try to judge it. I'm not. I've said this before, but I'm not the world's best visual reference guy. When you pass the large oak tree with the dead limb on it, I don't really reference things that way. But a lot of folks do. What do you do, Bill?
Go ahead.
I was gonna let Miss Vicky go first.
Yeah, what do you do, Miss Vicky?
No, I try to look down the track and then try to look at my entry point into my turn and try to gauge that.
Yeah.
And see how I can do that more so, and try to do the visual follow through with that, and not just focus on the turn, but the follow through and where I'm going to end up. And try. So
you're looking at the entry point, going, hey, by the time I need to turn in, I should be in, slowed down this much and in third gear. So I need to start making a plan to go ahead and start doing that.
Right. Because my issue was that I would start having little panic attacks going into the straightaway, and then coming to the end of it, not going into it, but coming to the end of the straightaway, because my focus was always on the boards, and then by the sheer speed of them going by me was affecting how I was braking. So when I took my reference off of them and more so put them in the corner of my eye and more focused on the turn itself, then I was able to get a lot closer with it at much more speed.
Good. Yeah. I usually try to look 1 or 2 points ahead. So my break point, I'm kind of looking at the apex and glancing back at the turn-in point, and trying to figure out what I got to do to be slow enough to turn in there and still make that point. and then kind of modifying it a little bit. And, I am bad at references, visual references that are far away, like way out in the middle of nowhere. I need something close to the track.
Yeah. I agree. If I am gonna be queuing off of a visual reference, it's gotta be right at the track. I'm not trying to see a telephone pole 300 yards away.
No, and I just don't. It's not that I don't see that. It's I don't want to focus well off the track, because I feel like if I'm focused way out there, then I'm missing something local. Yeah. Could be another car, could be traffic, could be whatever. I'd rather be looking at things that are closer. So I try and keep my things closer. So my refocus time is very slow, very quick, and I don't have any, blank spots.
I'm trying to think about places where we got big braking zones without markers. I think most of the big braking places I could think of have the markers, but there are, intermediate short shoots and stuff.
Well, I didn't want to just make this brake markers. I mean, they wrote in about brake markers. But I was thinking
we were talking about it. I was just thinking back to that part of the conversation too.
Like turn-in marker, the one that sticks out for me that's kind of weird is there's a black square. Sometimes it's blue. There's a black square going into turn 1 at Mid-Ohio on the wall. And that's a pretty good spot for me to start doing a turn-in on that turn. I don't know why it works. It just works for me.
Yeah, it's weird. I think in my mind, I think I'm usually just working the geometry of the track and knowing what the track is doing more so than trying to key off references. I think I'm just driving the shape of the track more often than not.
Yeah.
And a lot of times for me, a reference is where I am on track at a certain point. As much of a reference as anything else. Like, hey, by the time I've tracked all the way here, it's about time to start turning back into here. You know what I mean? I've kind of got a rhythm and a shape of the lap I'm doing. The shape of the track is one thing. The shape of the lap that I'm able to do with this vehicle is another thing. And that's just, I'm trying to run those two things together all the time in the most copacetic way I can. So I think there's a big assimilation for me that doesn't really involve a lot of very specific markers. Like I understand the shape of this turn, and I understand where I am on the track and in relation to a turn. Usually, I think I have a pretty good idea of that.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of seat time in your history, so it's what you're able to do. Somebody
a lot of this stuff is it's pretty natural to me. That's not natural to somebody who hasn't been doing this.
Right. Like Miss Vicky, remember when we were doing the track walks at Thompson? Chris, who usually leads at least one of the groups, coming around the bowl in the NASCAR turn, will always say you want to be lined up with the star on the Thompson Speedway wall.
Right.
Remember? So things like that.
Right.
But again, if that wasn't the outer concrete wall of the track and it was some tree that was half mile down the road, like it's a perfect line, those are useless to me. I don't look at those things. I don't know. Could be me.
I remember my first time at Road Atlanta, like the place where you decided to start slowing down. Or maybe it was some kind of reference for coming out. And this is like 2007, so that's why I don't remember exactly what it was. But it was a deal where somebody was trying to describe coming up out of turn 1 and knowing where to go on the way toward turn 3. It was a whole deal where it was like, when you get this pine tree lined up with that one, and I was just like, no, not doing that. I'll figure it out. But I'm not lining up pine trees and stuff. I'm trying to also, pay attention to what's happening on the track.
Right. I mean, my biggest problem and this is story time for Bill, but my biggest problem at Road Atlanta was for some reason I either had the sim racer setting wrong, or I had the wrong course selected or something when I was doing my practice, and turn 3 wasn't there. It was that that little chute they have that's straight.
Oh, you definitely have the wrong configuration.
I know. So I got 3 black flags at that race that weekend just because I just went straight when I got tired. It was just like duh. So make sure if you are doing a sim racer, make sure you have the right settings for the track you will be running.
Well, if we're gonna quickly dip into story time, I was gonna go do a race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in like 2014, and I thought it was 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It was one that Kathy from Lucky Dog was doing when she was still running that Chump region, and it turned out it was 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. But anyway, I was already signed up, and I was trying to figure out what configuration they were running. So I get on iRacing, and I can't get the exact configurations you're doing with the infield and the oval. They just don't have on iRacing. But they had various combinations. I put them all together, and the only thing I was missing was the connector from the infield to the oval. I was like, well, I'll figure that out, which also turned out to be shady and weird as hell. But anyway, I get there to run the race, and even having pieced together just 2 of the different configurations to try to get as close as I could to what they were going to run. I think I had a 4-lap lead, over the whole field just from trying to work ahead and be good at this track. Even though I couldn't do the exact track, I was able to get in the car without ever having been to that track and go out and lead a chunk car race by 4 laps until the transmission departed the vehicle. Then it was all over. But I had him go until then.
You know, can't simulate the transmission going away. It's not much to help.
No, but you can't simulate getting pretty damn good at a course, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Miss Vicky, you have anything else on markers and
No, I also have a hard time lining things up like distance. I would prefer to have my stuff a little bit closer. I understand what you're saying. That's the whole eyes up thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, it's not that my eyes aren't up. It's that when you move your eyes quickly, you have a certain amount of delay between focus and focus. Yeah. So I want to minimize.
So if you're looking at a far away reference point, it takes a while to focus back on the track too. Is that part of what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always feel like my eyes are like bing. So anyway.
The older I get, the less I trust my eyes. Like I can't read pill bottles anymore. I'm starting getting readers.
Trust me, you notice most of the time I have glasses on. So
I feel like my eyes are always vibrating. Ooh.
Well, that's because you're a parent of little ones, so it just happens.
Okay, cool.
So maybe if anybody's got some of their favorite markers that we missed, you know, that would be nice to know, because you know, even if I've never been to the track, it's always nice to know what I should have been looking at.
Yeah, totally. I was going to say the same thing. You know, listeners, followers, if you've got places that you want to talk about, there are some of your favorite references. Hit us up. We'll go back and talk about them on here if you want to.
That's right. We will. Don't make us do another Dominating with Dawson. We have to do one every week. So.
We'll do them. We'll do one anyway. But yeah, give us some stuff to talk about.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. All right. Very well. I think we've beaten this one into the ground a little bit. We'll probably come back to it though.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.